Hey, it's Glitch, and today I'm talking about the latest album from Gorillaz, Cracker Island. First, let me just start out by saying that I am a huge Gorillaz fan, and I was really looking forward to this album, especially after the release of the first single, Cracker Island, which I'm just going to talk about right now because it is such a good song. The first time I heard that, it was literally in my head for like maybe 3 weeks straight. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. It was so catchy. I love the bass, I love the call and response vocals from Thundercat, and I love the little synths and everything. It's just such a great song, and I honestly think that it's up there as the best song on the album, along with one other one, and it's also a single. And that song being New Gold, yeah, the second single. So I really had high hopes for this album after the two singles came out, because I really dig both of those tracks. You know, just the starting synths in New Gold, and then the rapping as well. It just kind of reminds me of like a combination of Demon Days and Plastic Beach, and I was talking to a friend about it, and he said the exact same thing. So yeah, that's cool, I guess. It's a bit of a throwback, it kind of felt like, I don't know. But yeah, I love New Gold, love Cracker Island, really good tracks. What I will say is, however, this album kind of disappointed me. The other three singles weren't really that great. Skinny Ape, Silent Running, and Baby Queen. Why was there 5 singles, by the way? There's 10 songs on the entire album. We literally heard half of the album before it was even released, which is crazy. So yeah, those 3 singles weren't really my thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, these singles aren't awful. Like, Silent Running is a nice pop track, I suppose. But like most of the album, it doesn't really give you much breathing space. The production it lacks character. It's all packed together. Like, that's a characteristic of the entire album that I kind of didn't really like. It just has no character, no personality. It really doesn't have that same sort of feeling as old albums like Demon Days and the self-titled debut. As for Baby Queen, I could honestly just copy and paste what I said about Silent Running, but this Baby Queen's probably even worse, probably one of the worst tracks on the album. I just got really fed up listening to it. It's not interesting at all, it's boring, it's just questionable, to be honest. I don't even know what Gorillaz were trying to do with this album altogether. What I will say is, out of these 3 lesser singles, Skinny Ape is probably the best one. It kind of has that extra character to its production, and I like what it does at the end, where it kind of doubles an octave and it kind of becomes like a crazy rock song towards the end. Yeah, it's quite an interesting track. It's not the worst one. I'd listen to it if it was on, but the former 2 that I mentioned I would probably skip if they came on. As for the other songs on this album, there are a few standouts, like Oil featuring Stevie Nicks. I like the production on it, I kind of like where they were going with it, I like Stevie Nicks' vocal performance. It just kind of felt different to everything else on the album, and I felt like it was a pretty decent track all around. I also don't really mind the Tired Influencer. It's got some quite laid-back production compared to the other songs on this album, and it just kind of feels like a really well-written pop song. It kind of gives me Weekend vibes, weirdly enough. So yeah, it's an alright track, I suppose, one of the better songs on here. Now, with Tarantula, it kind of sounded like Cracker Island, but for whatever reason I didn't really like it that much. I feel like the compact and busy production just kind of got old by that point, and I was ready for something new. Something that Gorillaz could have provided 20 years ago. But yeah, at this point the album's getting pretty boring. Now finally, the last track, Possession Island, makes a great closer to the album. It's such a breath of fresh air from all the busy production that was happening, and it features Beck, so that's cool, I guess. I really like the kind of slow guitar thing that they went with here. The only thing I kind of have a problem with is the vocals kind of seem a bit too loud, maybe a bit too heavy for the guitar beat, and that's kind of been a problem all over this album. I feel like they could have just had like acoustic vocals. I feel like that would have worked better for this track. But yeah, overall, one of the best tracks on the album for sure, maybe my 3rd favourite. When the first 2 singles came out, them being my favourite tracks on the album, I thought that this was going to be the best album since Plastic Beach of theirs, and I can honestly say that that is just really false. I'd rather listen to like The Fall, The Now Now, even Humans over this album. It's just flavourless, it lacks character, it's mediocre all round apart from a few standout tracks. Therefore, I'm honestly thinking like a 5.5 on this album. Really not a strong album, I probably wouldn't return to it ever, apart from a few tracks.